Victor, I want to ask you about China reacting with a 125% tariff on all U.S. goods, up from 84%. What is next? Do you think we could see more escalation between China and the United States? And what do you think it would take to see talks between the two sides?
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, this trade war and the global tariff war was not started by China. It was started by the United States. Secondly, China decides to rise up to defend its legitimate interest, to retaliate. Therefore, that's the reason behind China's 125% tariff against all goods exported from the United States to China. Now, China will fight to the end. We are fully prepared to deal with the United States as it is. On the other hand, there are many channels of communication between Washington and Beijing. The only way to restart the negotiation is for the United States to deal with China with respect and decency. If the United States does not want to do that and does want to continue to bully China, slap China in the face, China will slap back in America's face. That's it. So I hope minds will cool. If you see all the turmoil in the U.S. bond market, stock market, unemployment numbers, and the inflation numbers, it is time for the United States to do the right thing, bring this trade war to an end immediately, and start negotiation with China on equal terms. And then we can pick up the pieces, because otherwise you are talking about complete decoupling between China and the United States. And we need to deal with the consequences of such a complete revolution in world order. It is time for reasons to come back to Washington, and whoever started this trade war need to bring it to an end as soon as possible.
So, Victor, does that mean ending or pausing all tariffs for that conversation to start?
Absolutely. I think more dialogue and speedy, immediate dialogue will be preferred. But it requires the United States to do the right thing. Show respect to China, show respect to all the other countries, no longer use maximum bullying, maximum intimidation as if it will scare off all the world and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. No. If the United States is serious about bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States, China can help with money, with technical know-how, with our capabilities, etc. If you want to exclude China from the world, then the world will be excluded from the United States. That's the mega trend. We need to be reasonable rather than allow redneck to rule. That will not rule the world. The world will march on with its own rhythm.
Victor, I want to ask you quickly about some global conversations taking place outside the United States between China and other countries, other blocs, the EU, for example, what's been taking place the last couple of days. And then we know that President Xi plans to go abroad next week, talk to some Asian neighbors, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Vietnam. What conversations are happening right now?
First of all, as far as between China and EU and European countries, lots of things are happening. I'm partially involved in some of them. The Prime Minister of Spain was here. The Portuguese Foreign Minister was here. I was involved in one of the meetings with him. For example, lots of talks. Now, the focus is on whether this comprehensive agreement of investment between China and EU can be restarted and signed up. There are also talks about whether China and EU should really start the work for a free trade agreement between China and EU. And between China and many European countries on a bilateral basis, lots of talking about investment, moving some manufacturing jobs back to those European countries, etc. Now, between China and the ASEAN, the 10 ASEAN member states, we have traditional, very long-standing friendship and cooperation. ASEAN is the largest trading bloc as far as China is concerned. I think we are all reaching out and re-engaging with each other with vigor, with full awareness that China is the most important stabilizing force in the world of today, now that the United States is doing all the disruption of the world order. And it will be in our mutual benefit if China and EU, China, European countries, China and ASEAN China and Latin American, China and the African countries can really improve our cooperation in the anticipation that this bliss storm about anti-trade, anti-globalization will eventually pass away, and we need to be fully prepared to welcome a new world order if the United States does not want to change its mind, if the United States does not want to give up its maximum intimidation against the rest of the world.
Victor Gao, thank you so much. We are out of time. We appreciate your comments there.